Some say Africa's golden era is gone. A time when great African kings and queens built their dreams into empires, stretching across the continent and beyond. But we say a new era is upon us. A new set of African kings and queens are on the rise. Driven by the same wealth of character as the kings and queens before them. Building new empires of enterprise with the right partnership. So rise up wherever you are, new kings and queens of Africa. Embrace your full potential and be proud of your heritage.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another experience of the New Africans. Now, we created this particular experience because we had some new Africans in the building, and they had asked for an experience where they can continue to engage each other on their journey, as well as be able to speak to some of the elders and seniors in the community, where they can develop that connection from the older generation of individuals who have been in this community for a minute. And I say I'm one of them. I've been here 30-something years, as well as anybody in there that can actually, share with some of their experiences and allow to be able to pour into them. Tonight, we are got a speaker, and I got to say this. This particular brother was one of my group leaders, one of my guides, and the most important time where I called on him, because he was in Atlanta for a while, and he went to Houston, and I found myself at a loss, because somewhere in this journey to the understand and experience your divine self, you're going to get to a point where you're going to continue looking for the Creator, but after a while you're going to hear him for yourself. You're going to have a burning bush experience where you sit down and it is Creator talking to you. So I called him one night and I was ready to be done because I couldn't find my place in the journey. And I said, brother, I can tell I'm being told to produce and do something, but I don't find that there's no avenue for me to create, produce, and do what I'm hearing and I'm being instructed to do. And the brother said to me, what man or woman, at that matter, can tell you what to do when you have a directive from God? And I had to sit back. I said, excuse me? He said, who can stop you if you got your instructions straight from the Creator? And I had to sit back. And then you ask yourself, well, brother, did you really hear from the divine presence of the Creator? Have you really got your instructions from your ancestors? And are you going to listen despite what happens? And I sat down and I got off that phone and I hung up. And Ajay, the African, began to come forward. So with that being said, I'm introducing my man, Mamelo. Cardinal Swag, man. How's it go? Now, and most people, before I let you loose, I had Neonu look at me and say, brother, man, we looking at you and something is on you and we see it. Because ain't nobody giving you instructions and you just coming out.
Mm-hmm.
It's Cardinal Swag fault.
I'm gonna blame that one on Cardinal Olu, though.
Really? Okay.
I'll never forget. He was trying to produce a document here in Houston, the Cultural Center Review, and he had big designs. How this could be a vehicle to spread the gospel of BCN to people everywhere, and all the members of then Bishop's Council boo-booed on the idea. They're like, we don't need to do that, blah, 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 blah. Cardinal Lou did it anyway. It blew up, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we knew it was going to be great."
It's great.
And so he told me that story to remind me that if God has placed something on you or in you, no matter who is, trying to talk you out of it or, throw water on your fire, you got to do what God has called you to do. So I was just passing on that message.
Man, I'm gonna go to the altar tonight and pour libations and say thank you, because it definitely set off a chain effect. And I can tell you, one of the lessons I always teach with the Akiba lad, I said, I'm not trying to get you to do what I'm telling you to do. I'm not trying to get you to do what your mama telling you to do. I'm trying to get you to have an experience in the Creator and the Most High and God at the youngest age possible, so you can do what you're called to do.
But see what you're doing right there. That's scary. That's dangerous, and that is absolutely why so many faith institutions do exactly the opposite. Because I mean, think about that. If you're trying to get a human being to open themselves to whatever God is calling them to do, then what you're saying is God is the authority. The divine is the authority over the denomination, the church, the institution, whatever. And I'm absolutely not saying that the institution is not important, because we know that institutional power is critical.
It's critical.
But that's one of the things I appreciate about our presiding bishop, Jeramogi Maliki Mathi, because that was his whole thing, that we can have all the trappings, but at the end of the day, if all the trappings are taken away, where do you stand? Do you still stand with what you believe?
Exactly.
And if you don't stand with what you believe just because the trappings are gone, then you really never stood there in the first place.
You never stood there. Well, and I'll say this, when we're going to bring the New Africans in a few minutes, that part where you surrender all sovereignty to the Most High in this journey, because you can't get to that pinnacle of your most greatest being. And this is what Garvey would always say, that man has no sovereignty to nothing else but the Creator. And when you give that sovereignty, man, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Now, we have a thing where we have you state your name, the meaning of your name, how you embody that, and then you talk about your role in the church so they know before you come in.
I can do that. I can do that. First name, Aswad, means black. Simply black. Yusuf means he shall increase in power. And my last name, Ambadwile, God has convinced me. The last name reminds me of how I joined the Shrines of the Black Madonna. I was on this journey. I was literally praying every single day for about a year's time. God, where do I need to be? Because in college I was a part of the conscious and the conscious group, and the rabble rousers, and doing all that stuff, trying to get our university to divest in apartheid South Africa, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I told myself when I graduate, when I leave here, I want to continue being a part of the movement. I don't want to ever come to a point where I say I used to do that black stuff. But after I got out, I found myself just so wrapped up in my job that I wasn't doing all those other things that I felt called to do. And so it was at that point that I started praying, God, where do you want me to be? Because everyone said they had the answer. There's a powerful community group here, a community center, Shape Community Center. There's my good brothers and sisters at the Nation of Islam. There's this group, that group. I went out and visited the shrine, and everyone swearing they got the answer. And so I prayed every single day. And anyone who's ever heard me preach has probably heard me say the same story about 15 times. But anyway, I was praying, God, where do I need to be? Where do I need to be? Came out to the shrine. I was coming on a regular basis to classes and then to church. I stopped going because I felt guilty for not joining. I had in my mind that I was going to leave Houston. I was going to go to Temple University, study African American studies under the great Dr. Molefi Asante. And I can't have joining a church get in the way of that. So I just stopped coming out. But then I came out one other Sunday, and I walk in, Cardinal Lewis preaching, and I'll be damned if the name of the sermon was "You Need to Be Here." And everything about that sermon, the songs, the message, everything was speaking directly to me. I'm literally getting goosebumps just remembering that moment.
Right.
And so it was then that God had convinced me that this is where I need to be. And that's absolutely no shade on all the other institutions and movements, because every human being has to go where God is calling them. But this was the right place for me. And so that's, I try to live that, and Lord knows I am not perfect, but my middle name, he shall increase in power, as I'm thankful for the opportunity that I've been able to, I guess, increase in the opportunities to, let God do whatever God gonna do through me. So that's how I try to represent that.
One love, one love. Now let's bring on the group. A group.
That's a powerful looking group, man. That's a powerful looking group.
Now look, so that's why I had to call the brother, because I said, look, I need Cardinal Swat on this one, because my group is powerful. They're holding it down. The word is getting out about this group. And I tried to tell her, I said, look, now Jim, I need to tell you now, they talking about y'all. So yeah, here they are. Now tonight's conversation is the conversation is the relationship between spirituality and self-determination. Spirituality and self-determination. Before we speak to the new Africans, can you talk a little bit about because coming into the shrine, we push spirituality, and some people push more self-determination than the spiritual awareness of who you are. Yeah. Can you talk about how we merge spirituality and self-determination together?
It's crazy that you would formulate the question like that, because that is what was driving me all those years. I had this big group of friends who are all about religion, or if you want to call it spirituality, what have you. I had another group of friends that were all about the self-determination, and they were two separate groups, but in my mind, they just all fit together. And so I was looking for that place where it would just naturally fit together. And so when I think about spirituality and self-determination, I think about the fact that foundational to who we are as creations of God, we have a drive and a need to be a people. I mean, we're literally created for connection. There's absolutely nothing we can do as human beings without connection with each other. We don't learn how to walk, talk, socialize, any of that stuff without having some level of connection with other people. So we need each other. But to truly be a people in all our fullness, that demands we work towards self-determination, because God does not want us to be bending our knee to anyone but the divine. And so we have got to, so central to anything that you call spirituality has to be this drive towards self-determination. You as a group of people living in a way where you are not kowtowing and bending to other folk, where you are taking care of your own business. Because if someone who has no business in Black business is taking care of our business, then we're going to be out of business. So we got to be about our own business. And then this demands that each of us as individuals, because even though we are a group, we are also individuals. And so each of us on our individual path have to be moving towards becoming our best self. And, I get so sick and tired of how so many folk in Christendom try to make everything seem so easy. You just accept this, or you just spout out these words and everything's going to be all right. No, when you're trying to give yourself to your God and your people, it's going to be messy. It's going to be ugly. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to doubt yourself. All those things are a part of the journey. All those things are a part of that journey to becoming your best self. Our presiding bishop always talks about the fact that failure is a part of the process. And so we can't just sit there, and I'm guilty of this. I mess up and I beat myself up, but there's a lesson that can be learned in those missteps and in those mistakes. But I know I'm being long-winded here, but I am a preacher, so y'all
brother. No, look, we love this one.
y'all got to work with it.
We love this. Go ahead.
But to me, there's no separation between spirituality and self-determination. And one thing I see some folk doing is they conflate spirituality with the ability to just do their own thing.
Exactly. Wow, come on. Individualism. That's something different, right?
And that's my point, because when you get black folks saying that, I'm spiritual all by myself, really what you're doing is just blackening white nationalist individualism.
Come on.
You're just putting a black face on white individualism. And that is not what spirituality is. There is no spirituality without connection. None. And so long-winded way of saying, I need you, you need me, we need each other. Can I just add this real quick? Can I just add this real quick? Spirituality is not confined to any particular place, any particular gender, any particular set of activities. You can find spiritual messages anywhere. You can go to the movies and you can find spiritual messages. You can hear the ancestors talking to you. You can be sitting there quietly reading a book. You can be doing a puzzle, something I love doing, working puzzles. I'm looking at the puzzle I'm working on right now. It's right over there. You can be doing any of these things. You can be trying to master your craft as a musician. My youngest son is an incredible trumpet player, and I've seen him grow from, he started out in elementary school and, couldn't even understand what he was playing. But now, he's playing the grades. And there are spiritual lessons in that. Right. When I was in Atlanta, one of the things I loved about Atlanta, and please forgive me if I don't remember the name of the radio station, but I think it was WCLK. Every night/morning at 12 midnight, they would play John Coltrane's Love Supreme.
Love Supreme, yeah.
Oh my God. Is that more spiritual than that?
Look at that.
So I'll be quiet.
And we're not, we talked about it before. If you want to go, you know what I'm saying? And we'll talk, they'll come into, this is an experience for them to be able to experience. This is a situation where they can experience that which is around it. And so bringing them as many people, as many conversations as possible, that sovereignty piece might be a whole show within itself. How much do you place sovereignty into the creator? You know what I mean? And that's levels. There's always levels to this game. And now I'm sitting there saying, man, we talking about a whole nother show when we talking about that one. But in understanding that self-determination piece. And so for the question for the new Africans, you before this point realized that spirituality and self-determination went hand in hand? And if so, or if not, when did that hit you, like this is that purpose? Because sometimes people will join the church thinking, we'll definitely tell you, we ain't trying to get you to heaven, we're trying to get you to build it. And so when was that, has the concept of self-determination ever been in y'all spiritual journey beforehand?
Yeah, I mean, I ain't want to cut you off. Somebody else.
Go ahead, Azor.
Thank you, Najuma. My whole thing was, and this has been a theme for a while, was that, I would do my meditations and I would do my spiritual work right at my altar, and I would leave a lot of that right at the altar. And I'd be out in my day just rocking off the self-determination, like off the pure hustle, off the muscle. It really, and I can I can do some work like that. I mean, I've been proven to do it, but it's just so much more challenging, and I started to fall short in ways where it was just automatic before, where it was just easy work. And I started realizing that some of the things that was just so simple, it didn't come as simple anymore. I had to do something different, or I had to add something. Something had to change because I wasn't getting the results. And it was just a common theme of just leaving my light work and my spirit work at the altar instead of accompanying God with me and bringing God into all of my situations, good and bad. And so it was once, I really had my first situation where I really just humbled myself and just asked God the entire process. And it was a beautiful process. And I know it's not always going to be like that, but I just kind of felt like that was God's way of showing me like it could be this sweet if you just rely on me more, right? So I feel like 2024 last year was my best year as far as it actually happening. And I do think it's because of joining the church, getting saved, being a part of the group.
How was it that and then adding that, because that's I know for me, when I was out there trying to get the coins on how I should get the coins, how does that relate to you watching a whole community focus on self-determination in that same spirit?
Well, I definitely think that, in today's world, I don't really think that we really do stop and really sit in the present and really do reflect on God's energy and just reflect on anything outside of the hustle, right? So I think that it hurts us as a community because we just trying to survive in a lot of ways. We just trying to get by. We trying to take care of our family. We trying to stay out the way. And when you're living like that, you typically sometimes you be on autopilot. I know it was like that for me, just being on autopilot, and I'm in the community, right? So, I feel like that could be a major issue in the community because, I feel like our elders do a better job of it, but people at my age group or younger, we just outside just moving and trying to make it work and not really taking the time to really add the spirit component into materializing what it is that you're trying to do.
Cardinal, that's survival mode versus communalism.
Well, Jeremiah Kimathi, the way he describes that, he says that's the devil's treadmill, where we are expending all this energy, but we're really not going anywhere. But I would say that if we develop the eyes to see, even within the hustle, we can see God at work. Because you still got to put food on the table, right? You still got to pay the rent, and you have to do all those things. And so I think it's really just a changing of perspective, and recognizing that even as I'm out here moving and trying to do this, I've got to be thankful for the energy God has given me to do this. And I've got to look for ways to, share whatever I'm doing with other people, because even though we are all individually responsible for, the calling that's placed on our life, there really is no journey if we're not connected to other people. And so even in the hustle, we can find the spiritual opportunities to connect with other and to just celebrate, how God is using us.
Najuma?
John had so much nuggets. Where do I start? Okay, so yeah, I think I've shared this before. I try to respect the organization in which I was in before, because my family is still a part of it. But very orthodox Christian organization. I'll give y'all a hint: people knocking on your door. And so that is how I was shaped within my faith. Really deeply structured, right? But the concept of self-determination as a people, nah. Like, I'll be vulnerable and say, like, absolutely not. And so I understood spiritual discipline, but not necessarily how it translated to a collective Black power. And so as a child, my mother didn't allow us to like watch certain shows, and we couldn't do certain things. So I read, and I shared how I am a lover of social theory and all sociology. It's part of my undergraduate degree and everything else. So understanding that self-determination and how, like, that is a social theory concept, right? And so that's where people have a tendency to want to move towards growth and be innate in their psychological needs of benefiting each other. And so I heard that concept, but I never thought about it to put that into my faith until coming here. And so that's why it clicked, Because if I'm a lover of this, I understand the power and how it can be successful. So, oh my gosh, like I'm a part of a organization that does understand sovereignty, that does have the correct understanding of godly fear, reverential awe, of placing God first as a priority. And then we know when you do that, then other things will be taken care of. And so when I did join at the Tribe, the puzzles fit. And that's why I just felt so natural. I am a parent that did have those conversations with my children beforehand. And so that's why it fit for all of us. Like my kids, like, oh yeah, this is not a foreign concept because these are some of the things that mommy is already talking about. But now we get to embrace that with our actual faith. And I think I shared again, you know, I love, and I've been saying it for the past couple of weeks, you know, your faith is your life and your life is your faith. And so when you're incorporating that, you embrace it. And so I think in the past, having that individualistic salvation is what I was raised. But knowing that messianic consciousness is more about nation building, and it's about the group experience. And so, now it's a difference because I walk in that awareness. So to not just believe it, but to actually take those gifts, those individual gifts that I have, and bring it to my community and ensure that my children are understanding that. And again, kind of like what Daryl was saying, you do get kind of lost in the sauce when you're, in a way, becoming a slave, right? Like that slave. I got to continue to work. I got to make sure that my kids, I have 3 kids. And unfortunately, you know, we did have tragedy. Their father passed away. So I didn't sign up to be a single mother, right? I signed up to have this family. And so becoming the head, not only financially, but spiritually, you get lost. And that was one of the things that I noticed, that I did have that foundational work as a child, that I knew that when things went wrong, I knew who I needed to go to. But I could understand, I called it my spiritual compass. My children didn't have that. And I was saying, like, what is wrong with them? Why are they making these decisions? You know, I have 3, and one is 16 and the other are like 7 years apart. So I'm looking at her and I'm saying, why are you making these decisions? Like, this is foreign to me. And I was being judgmental, but I had to start judging myself because I didn't give her the same foundation that my mother gave me, but I knew that I didn't want it to be that individualistic
thing.
And so when I was searching, I had to find something that coincided with my love of what I knew, as what I found out as a child, and what made me even question spirituality or religion to begin with. So, and I'm a talker too, Cardinal Swad. So I have to sometimes calm myself down to give other people space. So I'm sure we can talk more about on the next question some more. So
we're gonna dive a little. And I have made a statement last week that I'm gonna always dive in a little more, and then also bring this back to Cardinal Swab, because it's the second person that talks about getting lost in the source, you know, and how it needs with spirituality, adding that self-determination factor to it. How do we not get lost in the sauce?
I think our good sister brought up a good point about being really thankful for that spiritual base, that really ordered, structured spiritual base that she had. Because what I found, you know, I've been blessed to be able to function in Detroit, Atlanta, Houston, and in Beulah land. And what I found in talking to and meeting members of this church, the vast majority came from backgrounds like that, where their spiritual homes before they joined the shrine were very structured and very ritualistic. And that's what we are. But we're also, and I think that's the beauty of African spirituality, because it represents the yin and the yang. Because just as we are structured we are also about freedom. Like just a few minutes ago, I was saying, we have to be able to hear what God is telling us as individuals, but that doesn't help us at all if we're also not trying to figure out how to work collectively as a group. And so I think the yin and the yang really represents African spirituality. There's a book, Hero with an African Face, that Baba Mbayu, the pastor of our shrine in Detroit, recommended that we read. And it talks about how, yes, we are a communal people. Yes, we are a group people, but we also are individuals. And so it's that yin and the yang. It's that very ordered, structured, ritualistic way of moving through the world that allows us to find that kind of peace that the sister was saying, where when you're feeling off, I can do this. I can go to my altar. I can do positive affirmations. I can participate in my group. Very ordered and structured. But there's also that freedom to just be you and move. Like the most powerful rituals are where we come in and we're all doing the same thing, but at some point when the Holy Spirit takes over, everybody is doing their own. Some folk are dancing, some folk are just laying there, some folk are just saying, "Thank you, Lord, thank you, Lord." God is speaking to all of us in the way she needs to speak to us. But we came in with that order and that structure, and it just broke out into this full freedom dance.
Before we go on, Nia, you next. But he made a statement about when the Spirit hits, we are all doing that ordered thing, but then every now and then we just all snap and go our separate ways. And sister, you smiling because I think I'm going to ask you for to tell the story. tell the Romani story.
So what Romani story? What Romani story?
When he was at church, the song hit, and you looked down, and the brother was just in it.
Well, that was Romello last week.
Romello? Okay.
I thought you was gonna make me talk about my experience, but good. I can go with the babies.
One, because it goes down to the youngest of generations.
Yeah, but of course, we're doing our praise and worship song, and second song, that's we doing our thing. And I'm sitting there because my little ankle was hurting that day and I had on some heels. So I wasn't standing up. I don't know. But all of a sudden, my middle boy, he's sitting next to me and somebody did a note and he just jumped up. My baby ain't got no rhythm.
None whatsoever.
He has no rhythm. But today, I don't know, that clap, it was like, yeah, he was clapping. And even, Sunday, somebody turned around, because we were doing the call of action during our Lent season, and he was on it. Like the power that is inside of him that comes forth, it shocks me. And I say this every week, but it really, really shocks me. And not even to talk about even a song. We're doing 7 Last Words coming up. The youth are doing that. He has his. It is done. It is finished. And he was off of school today. And one of the things he wanted to do was make sure that I'm about to start crying. He wanted to make sure that he wrote his sermon. And when he's reading it, I'm just like, I don't know what it's going to be when he's an adult. Because I was listening to it with my cousin, and my cousin said, "You gave birth to Jesus." Woo! And I started crying because the power that he had. His understanding of metaphysics. He said a line. He said, "Before a tree becomes a tree, a seed has to be planted." It's done. It's done before we even know it. He's 9. that is, I can give him all the foundation, but I know that is coming from the God within him. Woo. When he speaks it, it ain't something he believes. It ain't something that he has faith in. It's something he knows.
He knows without a shadow of a doubt. That's
was saying, like, he had it all out, and he was like, we are powerful. He said in a line, I'm giving y'all a little preview. He says, we were slaves. They tried to make us slaves, but we were already free. I dropped my pen. I said, what? What's going on at Children's Church? What's going on at Out of Darkness? Because that understanding of a 9-year-old, I couldn't believe it. I had to call someone else to witness it.
But let them know I'm about to steal that line.
And he said, they tried to make us slaves, but we were already done. And he said it like he was preaching. He was like, it is done. I was like, yes, it is. That ain't something you make up. That is Holy Spirit. That is divine. That is being a part of a community. Like you said at the beginning, it's scary. Because when you have a child who understands that they are fearless, you have a child that understands that they are not separated from the divine.
That's something. And I'm going to say this, Nia, forgive me, because you got to follow that.
I'm sorry, Nia.
Hello, I'm Nia, and thank you for having me.
Come on.
In the understanding of spirituality and self-determination, when was that moment you realized that it comes together? Or what was it before this experience in the church, or was it in this experience? And what was that like for you?
For me, I think with the determination and spirituality, it had to happen when I was starting my business. I really wanted to change. I knew I had to change everything about me. The old me had to die, and I had to give birth to a new Nia. And Azola, Daryl, actually, we had been talking about different spiritual things and meditating and praying and getting up and fasting. And these are all things from growing in a church, you know, I've known, and I went to private school, and all these things I've already known about. But now I'm like, okay, it's time to implement it and to do it and see if I can get a different result. And I did, you know, and it just like Brother Daryl Azola said before, it became easier. So if I needed an intern, or if I needed somebody to work my front desk, all of a sudden Clayton State student will walk through my door and say, hey, I need an internship. I need to work this amount of hours. Or if I needed money, it would come. If I needed an instructor, all of a sudden I would get an email. Hey, I'm in the area. Would love to see if you need an instructor to dance this or whatnot. So that's when I first was able to incorporate my spirituality with my bringing those two pieces together. And like he said, it's done. It was done. It was already done. So it's just like I just show up. I work for God. I show up. Hi, my name is Nia. I'm here to greet you and move you along because I'm just, I'm just someone who works here. But it's the movement is way bigger than me. So, and that's the name of the studio, The Movement, as well. So, but yeah, that was for me.
She said, Cardinal Swatch, she made a statement. She said it had to be a birth of a new Nia. And so, of course, I wrote down birth of a new purpose, right? Because that's exactly what that is. And we're always leveling up. And so can you speak on how making this spiritual journey, even though we're individuals, our individual lives should be a reflection of that collective journey towards self-determination, Because when you talk about being an entrepreneur, you're trying to define who you are, how much you want to make in terms of what you love to do. Can you connect the two in terms of, okay, that the individual life is just a microcosm of what a Black nation, a spiritual Black nation, should reflect?
Well, you can be an entrepreneur and you can be the most individualistic person on the planet, or you could be an entrepreneur and be one of the most communal human beings to walk the face of the earth. It's just, how you conduct yourself. And I mean, if you have the awareness to recognize that the old self needs to die and a new one needs to be born, I would say that's the sermon right there.
Right?
I mean, because just recognizing that means that you see that there's power in you all around you. You've just got to find ways to plug in. And that's kind of what I was trying to tell Brother Man, because we can all get into that, the hustle, the rat race, whatever you want to call it. But even within that crazy structure, we can carve out those ways and moments to plug into the power. I think that's one of the beauties of ritual for African people. It allows us to slow down enough to remind ourselves that there's a power greater than ourselves, so that when Sister Nia says, man, I need this, that's because she's plugged in. Then the exact thing that she was asked for literally walks through the door. And so that awareness of being plugged in, I think it can go a mighty long way.
So now there's,
if I can add one thing, sorry to interrupt, but even, I love the fact that you said to plug in, because I may not always be consistent, but once I plant a certain spiritual seed, it still like my cup runneth over, So even it's like plugging in and not putting your phone on a charger, but you're still getting that electricity. You're still running that current through. So that's something that actually, that when I wasn't doing as much, or I had forgotten, or I slipped up or anything, I was still being able to reap the benefits of the investment that I had already put in to my spirituality and my self-determination. So
yeah,
something I learned.
Thank you for teaching us that.
Now, there was there's a thread where we were talking about a structured spiritual processes that lead us to, when the spirit hits, it hits the individual completely different. Now, I know coming from where we were, culture, and we talked about here, we talked about African tradition, we talked about African history, we talked about African heritage. Those things are mostly constant and steady. What changes for us is the culture in which we live in, and that culture in that date and time. And so, and that affects, even though we're dealing with self-determination, our approach to it changes according to the times in which we live in. And so can you speak on, Cardinal, that culture that we had before this present time? Because she talked about structures of those who knocked on the door. They didn't have to wear the same uniform. You know what I'm saying? Talk about the culture that was able to develop a spiritual awareness in the people that is completely steady on that self-determination camp.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why it's so critically important to continue to plug in, continue to try to be as open as humanly possible, because culture can express itself differently at different moments in time. There are those divine spiritual truths that always remain constant, but the expression of those spiritual truths may look different today than it did in 1970 or it did in 1950. And we've got to learn how to be okay with that. We have to learn how to recognize that it may not look the same, but it really is the same God
Come
that is
on.
still empowering us and envisioning us and doing all those things. And I mean, like me and you were talking yesterday, how, you know, the culture of the nation at one point was everybody was in red and black all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Literally. But there was a very specific reason for that.
Reason for all of that.
Because we were trying to show the world that we were moving as a team,
Unified,
not moving alone, and that was a
Unified.
powerful message that we were sending to the world.
To the world.
Message.
Yes.
The world needs another message now. It needs to be able to see that we can be in our fullness and we can be as a team, but we can also be as beautiful and powerful as we want to be in our own individuality, not individualism, but our own individuality. That's another powerful message.
Right.
And it's the same God. So what?
I'm writing that topic down. Go ahead, brother.
I mean, it's the same God that's speaking to us now that was speaking to us back then, and we just got to get comfortable with it. We just got to be open to like how is God calling us to move now? Because, you know, and this is for all human beings, it's so easy to get trapped in what we did back in the day. Of course, we have to remember, I mean, I got my Sankofa right here. Of course, we have to, of course, we have to look back in order to move forward. That's so critically important, but we can't be prisoners of past, because what do we say about God? God is always in the eternal now. God's here right now. What is God telling us right now? What scripture is God trying to get us to write right here, right now with how we move through the world?
And so for the new Africans, how does your spiritual journey differ now than your upbringing? What is you see any major, because the culture has changed from when you was little to where you are grown, and now with and you and Zola, y'all are, you know, teaching the children. So how does that differ? How cultures changed and how you changed according to that approach? I know for me, my mom, the way my mom did us, she said she was forced to go to church. She was forced. She said, I'm not forcing my kids. And she said she got up every Sunday and went to church every Sunday. Now, my grandmama, you was not going to be in her house at that, and you woke up, and if you didn't hit that door when she hit that door to go to church, you was there, you know. And then for us, when we went back, when we were with my mom, she said, I get up, and she explained to us everything that she wanted us to know about where she was. And she said, and when you ready, you get up with me. And so in that space, I went from a more loose environment, because she said, when you choose and accept your journey to the Most High, that's your journey. It ain't mine for you. I can't make the journey with you or for you. And saying now that all of my brothers and sisters are strong on their journey, because it was something that they weren't told, but they were chosen. So she was a little bit loose. When I came into the nation, it was straight up accountability. You got to, if you're going to be a part of the Black nation, you got to look like the part of the Black nation. When you walk somewhere, and I remember Cardinal Manifu, whose Bible is on my altar, they knew who we were, the whole city, and every city that we was in. The minute that you said the Shrines of the Black Madonna, and then you walk in with your red and black, the first thing they asked you was like, hey, you remember the shrine over there? The identification was strong. And then the journey where it became, and people were fighting it, where he said, yeah, but if you take off the red and black and you walk into the world, can people tell that you're still in the world and not of the world? You know, so when that dynamic changed, I was able to, blessings, I was able to make the adjustment. And then the dynamics where, again, when I mentioned the statement on the beginning of the show, where I was trying to look for that structure that would allow me to make this move to become who I'm supposed to be. And he was like, brother, once you get into the realm of your burning bush experience, all sovereignty is God's. And I just like, now I can be structured with no structure. You know, so it's been a beautiful journey. But has anybody's beginnings looked different then and now according to the structure? culture side.
Well, yes, right. And it's just yes. But like yourself, Reverend Ajay, I think yes, we did definitely have that structure growing up. But one of the things that my mother always stated was you have to make the truth your own.
Mm.
And I had an argument with her when because I was in the world, y'all, for a minute. I had gone through something and I was upset. I was angry. I was questioning God. I was questioning my faith. I was questioning a lot of stuff. And so I had been separated from any type of organized faith. I hate to say it, for about 15 years. Mm. And so when I decided to join and get baptized, it was a big thing because my mother had seen a change. She was upset that I did not come back to the organization in which she gave me. But the child starts to become the parent, and you start to quote back stuff your parents told you. And you said, I have to make the truth my own, and this is the truth for me. And I know that. And so from when I start speaking of that, again, in that knowing, it was respected, right? And so now it's every time, even respecting my African name is a lot. Understanding that when she does see me, you're going to see my hair probably tied up. You're going to see me rocking my African jewelry. You're going to see that pride. Now, I had some of that before coming here. But I think that with me telling my kids this is how I wanted them to be, I had to start shifting it. We grow up in a culture now, growing up in Oakland, very conscious people, very prideful of who we are. Again, I tell a story. I had uncles who were in the Black Panthers. You know what I'm saying? My mother has stories about growing up with Angela Davis and Huey P. Newton, and even Danny Glover. A lot of people don't know he was part of the Panthers. But so she has these stories. So I understood who I was, but it was confusing because I'm growing up in this very white dominated religion, right? And so I think a part of me rebelling in that was like, yep, I'm blackity black, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
And so, but my mother, they were like, oh, this is just Najuma being Najuma. But I think having a daughter, 16, social media, very impressionable. They want them weaves. And there's nothing, they look nice at times. But we've had to have a whole conversation about what are you trying to state you are, because you can't say you're prideful, because she'll tell somebody, I'm a Black Christian nationalist. Are you? Is this what you're depicting when you want to wear a blonde wig down to your butt and you want to have butterfly eyelashes? You're depicting that you want to be a part of a world that oppresses you. And so mommy has to stand up and wear certain things. I don't know if my family has noticed, but I've taken a back of not wearing so much of the colorful eyes and the eyelashes. I made that conscious decision to be an example of my daughter. Really embrace who you are, because you can't say that you are created in God's image if you don't love what you see. And so that has definitely shifted as far as our culture and our home. Clothes we buy, what is it that we're eating, understanding that kingdom is yourself. You are the temple. So how are you actually treating it? So yeah, we have meatless Mondays. We have, these different lifestyles because, breaking down the science of eating certain processed foods changes your behavior mentally. We don't talk about that as a people, how food can really
toxic diet, toxic attitude, toxic behavior.
Yeah. Exactly. When you actually break your fast, because you're fasting at night, right? And you break your fast, if you put in processed like food in it, what is your behavior going to be? Are you going to be sluggish? Are you going to be ready to do the work you're supposed to do as a child, be in school and be proactive and have a protest that you are a Black child of excellence. Like, how are you showing that protest if you can't even take care of the temple? So having those type of conversations have definitely shifted really in the last year, and really the course of like my life, and really being disciplined, I think, with my physical life has shaped how I show up mentally, which ultimately shows up what I'm doing spiritually, of using those tools and just being more conscious. I don't know if I answered your question. I feel like I went everywhere, but hopefully
it's okay. It's okay. One of the things that she mentioned was that in terms of the cultural shift, because now the cultural shift, back in the day, you didn't have so much information being put upon you where you had, your life and your social interaction is in the handpiece. That was, that's a big thing. The only thing, back in the day, you was worried about who you found outside. And they said we were outside. Now you can see everybody everywhere. So the influence. And one of the last things Jeramoja Baby Ajiman said to me was, he said, y'all in trouble. And I was like, why? He said, because I didn't realize that the slave culture was going to be so inviting. He said, it's going to get so beautiful. People are not even going to know that they need a deeper sense of spirituality. They need a deeper sense of a connection with God. They need a more desire for self-determination. He said, y'all are really going to have to show the true need, because it's looking like they're erasing the lines for us to even to see it. So when you talk about self-determination, you talk about spirituality and self-determination, people like, well, what are you talking about? I got a great job. I make great money. I mean, I got a big house. And so it erases that. But and that's the struggle for anybody in with children in today's time, trying to connect them, because a lot of parents will sit down and say, you don't get a digital device. I'm not allowing you access to the world at a young age like that, where I have to begin to explain or fight those things that you're going to see. But yeah, so the culture is different. This is one of the reasons in terms of, and it's funny talking about culture and change and how it affects this journey. I would never come on social media for a long time because I couldn't see what I needed. And I sat down and said, I heard it in my ear. I said, well, I guess I got to get online and become what I'm seeking, until what I seek seeks me. And it was only 3 of us back in the day, Cardinal Swat, that was online trying to make this experience worthwhile. That was me.
Was that MySpace? What were you on?
Man, it was me, girl. Yes, MySpace. Then it was when Facebook came out. It took me a minute. My brother was like, "Everybody in New York want to see you." I said, "No, what's the purpose?" Because and my MySpace page was sick. And then I developed a website where I had a social media content inside my website when I was promoting out there in the world, and it was huge. I had NAFTA built into a website. What? And so I was in that environment, but then I realized what I need to make me go forward is not out here. The culture is shifting and it's dropping something, that dopamine inside our brains, where I don't even know that I'm being attacked. At first, the attacks were like, hitting hard. Now they soft and subtle, And so I said, I had to let me embrace the changing of the culture and making sure that there's a spiritual notation inside this particular journey. And so that's why I embrace it. So me, you, and Tamani was up here trying to figure it out. We were trying to figure it out. We were sitting there late at night, and I saw you with your cell phone. I'm talking about, you need more lighting, brother. You need some more lights. And so using this technology to actually, if your daughter's somewhere surfing, and real talk, the boys found I was online, and she was like, yo, my sons are watching a Keeperland Inspirational Sunday, and they going to school in the morning. As I'm dropping them off, they talking about what Reverend Ajay said online. I'm like, really? Which was a eye-opening, being able to use today's culture to have people experience this journey. Azola, how has how you approached it, how you approach spirituality before in an old version of you, or when you're growing up, is it any different than when you are here now? It's culture and times change.
Before you speak, I just have to say,
I just saw that. You got to do it.
I hate I have to, but I have to because I got to get this assignment done this evening. Hopefully, y'all invite a brother back.
Definitely. Before you go, is there anything that you want to close out on, because it is the closing out?
I just appreciate the conversation. Appreciate seeing how God is working through each and every one of you.
One love. We appreciate you.
All right.
So Azola. Thank you, Cardinal. I'll see you again.
Y'all. Okay, y'all be good.
One love.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Last question. Our younger generations, because y'all are considered the younger generation. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting up there a little bit. Are y'all experiencing this journey of spirituality with this technological culture? Are you experiencing any different now than you've done before?
You're asking, with the technology, are we experiencing different?
Yeah, how are you experiencing? Yeah, are you experiencing? Because back in the day, if your mama wasn't telling you the story, if you was, you going to church, because we're in an information age where you can receive as much information as you want to on this. And so, do you think does a younger generation experience spirituality in different ways in today's culture?
And I think it could be information overload. Depending, because you can be having a conversation in your crib, just you having a conversation, and then you pick up your phone, and everything that you just talked about is now popping up. But it's not even just what you talked about. They suggesting stuff for you too. You know what I'm saying? And so now, with somebody else just purchased, which was similar to yours, is now there. So I kind of feel like it could take you down a rabbit hole that you might not be prepared for. To be honest with you, I try not to tap in as much. You know what I'm saying? I got my little regiment, and I try to stay away from too much information and too many perspectives. Man, everybody got an opinion. Everybody got a perspective. And it could be too much. And then every time you read a book or every time you purchase somebody's new course, you're learning material, but you're still learning it through somebody else's lenses. I kind of feel like you got to deplug, for real, unplug, and have your own, like, everything is in algorithms, right? You got to have your own algorithm. You got to have your own thing. And then you need to be able to put these things into your own words, have some of your own experiences, write your own books, right? And have an understanding from your own real experience. Because I think the technology is great. I think the information age is great, and I think it's better to have it than to not have it. But I think that it could just be too much, man.
Right. There's one of the things that we talk about, and I expressed it to them. I said, in order to control the algorithm that you receive, and I said, with this even as a larger community, I said, we have to do just 3 things to make sure that you can control what comes in. Anytime you find something that agrees with your spirit, like, comment, share. That controls everything. So like you said, if you went to purchase something, now they got what you purchased and they flood it. Like, comment, share. So those individuals who are watching, who are part of our church community, like, comment, share. Those 3 things. Because if you don't interact with the algorithm state like that, they don't think that you like it, and it doesn't come back to you. That's an algorithm. Not responding to like, comment, and share is a response. And I keep telling us, well, we're not going, because I'm selective. My junkie is chess. I got to play chess all the time. I will play chess every day, all day. That's when I know I'm non-productive. If I've played 6 to 12 games of chess, that's it. Other than that, every time I touch it, a conscious brother, now I talk too much too. A conscious brother came to me and he said, every time I understand that the internet is a field of energy, we are fields of energy. If you touch it with the wrong intent, you're going to get back the intent that you touched it with. He said, I'm able to furnish my house. I got a car, I got a refrigerator for my family. We would skate every week. He said, man, I got all my kids skates. I get free stuff. I said, what? He said, yeah, people out there just giving stuff away for free. You just got to come get it. He said, I do not touch that digital device unless my frequency is in tune to what I truly need and what I truly want. And so I always tell people, if you want to start reshaping your algorithm, go to the things that feed you, like it, comment on it, share it, and then that algorithm will give it back. Sister Nia, how has technology and this experience affected your journey, this culture?
I am looking forward to the advancement. I come from an encyclopedia area. I am here for all the technology and like lay it on me. Like because I'm okay with taking what I need out of things, you know, deciphering what I'll take. I'll be like, ooh, that just don't, if it don't make sense, if it, you know, it's not making sense to me, which basically means if it's not in my spirit, if it don't align with me, then I can throw it to the side or put it in the back or something like that. But I'm here for the technology. You know, I like the fact that I could stream church from my bed in my kitchen. I like the fact that I could pay digitally, like cashless. I am here for all of it. I like the AI. Give me some cool looking videos and some stuff. Like, I'm ready for it. I'm here for all of it. You know, now we got Black Jesus. Like, everybody got Black Jesus everywhere. So
Jesus.
I'm here for it. I didn't see a Black Jesus before. I knew he was there, but now we got Black Jesus skits, you know, Black Jesus this, Black Jesus t-shirts. Yeah. I'm here for all of it. So I'm like, let's move up, you know, like the Jeffersons, you know, that pie in the sky. So I can't wait to see what all, you know, it unfolds with everything. So I'm here for a different perspective or learning or even with cross religions, you know, like for Lent, you know, I'm doing I take some of that energy from Ramadan. So I was like, okay, for my Lent, I'm going to do sun up to sundown. I'm going to fast, you know, and that's just so I can pull it from both areas and get as much energy as I can to align with what I want to get out. So, you know, just more information. It never hurts, especially I'm not in school. I'm not doing anything, you know, I need some, please fix it, Jesus, you know? So thank you.
I think though, I know we have to get going, but I think that
this y'all show. Go ahead, talk.
I'm being conscious of my group. They got other commitments, but I know we cannot be stuck in tradition, right? And we have to move with technology. And so I hope that as we grow with AI, that's why it's so important with the World of Akibaland, we do everything to create that whole child, right? So yes, we do robotics. Yes, we touch games.
Talk about it.
Right? But we also touch communications come Saturday. If you want to, your kids.
If your kids want, yes.
I'm leading it. But anyways, I'm just doing that plug in there. But I'm saying because we have to shift the narrative, especially with our children. They're so impressionable and they do have this technology at their hands. Right. So how do we move into digital spaces and cultural expressions, economic empowerment, modern technology, right? We don't want to lose our essence and our tradition of who we are. And I'm talking about this as our community. But we do need to expand it, right? And this is the way that we will get more youth and be able to pull them in to transform them, but making sure that we are controlling their narrative of how they use it. How do you truly use it in a divine way? How are you telling your story? I wrote down, what scripture are you writing today with this technology? This is something that we have to talk about with our children. You know, it's beautiful when you go upstairs and you see the kids have a way of merging the images behind you, right? And as on the church end, you know, you're sitting up there as a kid, you see a green screen, but you see that those transitions, those are happening from our children. So shout out to them and shout out to you for teaching them.
Yeah.
That is how you grow the technology and the culture. because we talk about, oh, we got to pass the baton, but we got to pass the baton with some kids that know how to use it and to use the tools that they have now.
Right.
Because the technology that they had that you guys had years ago may have been a flyer. Well, how do they use that now?
Right.
So how do they go on Canva and create a flyer to talk about come and see me and participate with our great, beautiful community? They're not going to do all of that just by walking. And yeah, you could put some pamphlets on because I think that still work. I just made a comment a couple weeks ago. I know people who still go around giving tracts and pamphlets out, and they work, and they got people nationwide, the whole world, global. But how do we move our youth to use this technology to continue that? Because
they have to see it. Yeah, they definitely have to.
They have to be able to have I'm trying to think the ethics behind it. How are they using it ethically? How are they using it in the right conscious way? And so that's kind of what I strive for. And so, yeah, putting on restrictions with these kids, because like Daryl said, if you got a kid and they're sad and they're talking about real life stuff that's happening, the 9-year-old, he's still a 9-year-old, y'all. So he be talking about, I got a crush on this person and that person. You don't know that stuff be popping up on YouTube. And we don't even know it because they're talking about it. Right? The 6-year-old, she mad because she got a heartbreak. I hope she might be mad at me a couple years when she sees this, and now she listened to some depressive songs from SZA. Shout out to SZA, but you know what I'm saying? It's the truth. Like, we have to be so conscious of what our children are actually talking about because it does affect their technology. So you can share, and comment all you want to, but if you're talking about it and they picking up on it, how do you control it for them to even have the mindset to say, okay, I don't want to watch that? Or how do I, change that or shift that? Or how do I make my own reel? So
that's real.
Children are pulling them in.
Yeah, that's a conversation, and that's something that we could also pick up in regards to how to allow your kids. And I talked with a lot of parents, and there was one child that I actually needed. I told the parent, I said, if you're giving your kid a digital device, you need to have spy software on it. And that spy software on it allows you to track everything that they're experiencing. It also allows you to govern it. So you can't have a conversation on a digital device as a child without your parent knowing everything. And so that's important. And I always tell parents that no, the minute that you give your kid a cell phone, it has to have that, and they can't find the pirated software. They can't see it. They don't know it's there, but you track everything. And there was at one point, it actually saved a little girl's life. I had a brother who mentoring, and we had to put it on it. And he was having a conversation with a little girl in school, and she was talking about suicide. And he was telling her how he hates being here too. And I told the mother, it has to be a part of what you're doing every day. You come home, you sit down, you log in, and you look and you track everything that he's ever watched. And she saw the conversation. I had to sit down and tell him, I said, now I need you to know it. I asked him, why did you lie to her about you feeling like you wanted to kill yourself? And I had to wrestle you, and they had to take the knife from my hand, and it was crazy. He said, well, I wanted her to like me. I said, now, because we see this, and we asked him before we pulled up the software to show, dude, we tracking you. So you might as well just tell us the truth. And when he saw the because, they can delete on their phones, but you can't delete on the software. And when he saw it, he was open. He said, well, I wanted her to like me. And, she's just been real sad. And I just wanted to support. You can't support that. So now here's a problem. She's talking about hurting herself. So when you go to school tomorrow, her parents will be there. Child welfare will be there. They will know that they will see. We will give the school the information, and we're going to save this girl's life, and she's not going to like you no more. But maybe when she gets older and she realizes that because of what we did trying to police you, we saved another parent's child from self-destruction. So there has to be like you said, ethically. And so for us as a community who has basically, we've done everything physically. Yeah, we have to look at technology because our kids are in it. We have to embrace it. Not only that, as we develop in an older community, this particular course when I talk about New Africans, every Monday night, we had orientation. We showed up every Monday night at the church at 7 o'clock in our red and black. And y'all seen the sanctuary. The sanctuary was like it was Sunday. And it would break down the lifestyles of everything that we are as a people. And it helped fortify us. Now with technology, I'm sitting there saying, okay, where is Monday night orientation? Where is Tuesday night group meeting? You know, and so the things that I said that I came up in that helped develop the African, I had to manifest and create. So when again, using technology, the New Africans, I just felt blessed by being the one that was able to preach the sermon when y'all was there. And when I kept yelling, there's New Africans in the building, that was when the download came. It is time for us to be able, because you don't have Monday night orientation on every Monday, where a sermon was broken down to its finest element. So there was no loss of information on you. And I said, well, you know what? We're going to let these brothers and sisters, because we in an open scenario and, you know, they are definitely deeply endowed with information. Let them share their journey with the world and let them become a new version of Monday night orientation with the New Africans. And so, again, taking spirituality, developing a state of self-determination where we're building for ourselves and using the new culture to do it. That's what this conversation was about. And I truly appreciate y'all being a part of it. Now I got to come up with a good topic for next week. Thank y'all. Any last words before I cut?
One love.
All right, we do.
Solid show. Thank you.
Yes,
brothers.
thank you for having
Love
us.
being a
I
part of
enjoyed
it.
it.
I appreciate y'all. Y'all killing it. Y'all definitely killing it. One love.
Right.
One love.